because when I'm stressed, it's a spiral of chaos and health issues. And then you really can't hear yourself. You can't trust yourself if you're just really at the whim of whatever you need to do and whatever's coming forward. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Hello, friends, and welcome back. I am excited about today's episode because this is a topic that touches everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, but it is a cultural, worldly issue, I would say right now. And what I'm talking about is stress. Stress is inevitable in this day and age, but what if you could transform that stress into a sense of purpose and empowerment? What if you could use stress as a tool to strengthen your intuition and create more meaningful connections in your life? That's what I'm here to talk to you about today. In this episode, we're going to talk about understanding and reframing stress as a guide, not as an enemy. We're going to cover breaking free from cultural pressures and redefining balance for ourselves. And thirdly, we will talk about how you can implement practical tools to foster a balanced and fulfilling life with less stress. So let's get right into it. The first biggest thing I want to touch about is really, what is stress? Stress is the body's natural response to perceived threats or demands. We release hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to prepare us to face challenges. This response, as you might have heard, is known as the fight or flight response. It is an ancient survival mechanism. We all have it, and it's intended to protect us from immediate dangers. So this is a response that's actually helpful. It's only become really out of whack because we are living in a day and age where our senses are constantly on. We are reacting, we are adjusting, we are getting notifications, let alone like the big stressors of sickness or injuries and those things that we just have to move through as humans. But with this constant overwhelm and this stress that we're inundated with, truthfully, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, is going to put you in a chronic stress state. And that leaves this body in this prolonged state of fight or flight. We don't move through. So if you can imagine, usually our body wants to face the threat, move into fight or flight, explode adrenaline and cortisol throughout so we can put all the energy into our muscles to fight, to flight, to decide, and to survive what we're facing. And yet we never really turn that off. So we don't have that other side of release, of the come down. We are just continuously dumping and dumping and dumping. So if you can imagine dogs and animals, after they go through this, they'll shake. So when they have that stress response, that overwhelm, they'll yawn, they'll shake it out. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'm good. Well, we don't do that. So we need to start doing that. Firstly, we need to start working with our body. You can think of somatic experiences. You can think of body work, energy work, exercise helps us to readjust and release and get that out of our body. But when we're not, and the most of us aren't, and that's normal, there is a normalization of it. Doesn't mean that it's right or healthy, but it is the normal state that most of us are living in. It's going to cause physical symptoms like fatigue, headaches, digestive issues, as well as emotional symptoms like anxiety, irritability, depression. And for us who are empathic and intuitive, this stress just gets compounded. So we are absorbing other people's emotions. We're absorbing the stress of others. We're taking it on. We want to fix it. We want to nurture it. We want to get the signs, the voice, the messages to help them. And then where does that leave us? It leaves us feeling drained and emotionally overwhelmed, and we're not functioning at our best. And let alone if you're like me, someone who has health conditions that seem to be tied to chronic stress, it becomes debilitating. It can just throw you into this space of rock bottom sometimes, depending how bad it is, of confusion, of exhaustion, of fatigue. And yet there's the requirement to still be on, to push. And that's what I want to really start to come up against today, to say, I don't believe that that is where we have to stay. I truly don't. I think there's a lot we can do to begin to shift this, but noting where we're coming from will help us get to a different space. So, firstly, I like to think about like, how did we get here? Culturally, what has kind of gone awry? And really, I see this as just the normalization of this overworking, the juggling of responsibility, the societal expectations that push productivity over health. I believe some of the biggest things that are contributing to our stress is these cultural pressures. It's a have it all, leave little room for nothing else, and just continue to do it. And I really challenge you to reassess your own situation, to maybe choose differently if it's not making sense for you. And work-life balance, I think, is where it starts for a lot of us. True work-life balance isn't about finding a perfect formula, but it's rather about creating a life that feels manageable and fulfilling. The cultural narrative glorifies busyness, leaving little time for well-being, which is essential to managing stress and living a fulfilling life. So some big things that I really learned that I'd like to share around tools and tips for finding better balance, because our workplace is where we spend the most of our time. Even if you're remote, you are spending the majority of your day on and in your workplace and or supporting work-related tasks. So the first tip is really setting clear boundaries. I really need you to establish your work hours and protect your personal time. And maybe this is something that in your workplace, it's really looked on as an amazing thing to go above and beyond, to respond outside of work hours, to volunteer, to pick up lots of slack, to feel like you can't leave until you finish something. But if you're stressed and you're drowning and you're not feeling good, I really challenge you to start to readjust your thinking on that one. Where is it going to get you? What are you actually getting from giving so much and getting so little? Your work can replace you anytime and with anyone. And that feels very confronting sometimes to feel like, no, I'm so valuable. I'm giving so much. They would never not want me. But, sickness happens, death happens, big changes happen. And just noting that, I always like to say, if I got abducted by an alien, like, here's where you could find this. And I kind of like that because it's, if something happened, they will move forward without me. I am not the pivotal piece. It's that role and hopefully what I did in that role, but they could change it at any time. And so that really started to get me thinking of, I know they value me as a person. I have friendships. I am cared for. I love my job in many ways. And yet I am not my job. There's this distinction that needs to happen of, I am providing a service. I'm providing this piece, and I, the Olivia here, is much more than that. I am myself. I am my own human. I have children. I have a partner. And when I'm not doing okay, no one else is feeling okay around me, especially my children. I can't be the mom, be the partner, be myself, the person I want to be, just without all of that, without feeling okay and feeling balanced and feeling less stressed. Because when I'm stressed, it's a spiral of chaos and health issues, and then I'm good for no one. So starting to set those boundaries of when you work, when you take your break, what you do for your break, do something that's going to fill your cup in that time, which goes to my number 2, which is prioritize health and self-care. You must, no matter what your work hours are, need to prioritize time to move your body almost every day. That could be a walk. Walking is my go-to, but needing to also build in some strength or some flexibility, some cardio, mix it up, have fun with it. And also, how are you eating? Please eat well. Please be eating nutritiously to fill your body with fuel. That goes such a long way. I feel like I have finally hit the nail on the head of what it looks like to eat well, to feel well, and it's a game changer. And also sleep. Never underestimate the power of sleep. I will definitely be doing episodes about all these topics to just help you because they all fuel that connection to yourself. They're going to fuel your health, which fuels your intuitive voice and abilities, and it's going to fuel how you feel. The whole goal of Intuition Unlocked is really how can we unlock that inner voice and be listening and trusting and moving through this life in a way that we're excited, we're passionate, we're balanced, we're feeling good. And so all these things play a part in being able to do that. And so you really can't hear yourself, you can't trust yourself if you're just really at the whim of whatever you need to do and whatever's coming forward. So that's why I'm talking about this today, because we really don't have that voice. We can't hear it very well when we are stressed out, when we don't feel well. And so it all comes together in this beautiful system, like things start clicking into place. And so part of that is delegating and asking for help. You need to ask for help from your partner, from people at work. Don't hesitate to ask for support. Sharing responsibilities will help you alleviate the pressure, which alleviates the stress, which lets your mind begin to quiet, which lets you come back to yourself and be like, oh, I think I like life. I don't think I'm as stressed as I thought I was, or I don't think I need to be as stressed to maneuver and move through my day. And the last one here I really want to share is designate tech-free time. I've really noticed that with working on devices almost all day long has greatly reduced my attention span. It's greatly reduced my well-being in terms of I get stress headaches, I get tension headaches, my eyes are always kind of tired, and I just can't shut off. I go, go, go. What's next? What's this? And so I notice that there is a big correlation between the amount of tech we are using and our overall well-being and stress. Again, like I started with, we're waiting for the notification, the email, the text, who's on, what photo can I take, what needs to be done. And really is social media. I love it. I think it's a beautiful space, but you need to have a break. You need to build in some time. I think not touching your phone or a device for the first hour, if you can, when you first wake up, outside of, right? Check the time if you need to, but just do what you needed to do. Get dressed, settle in, breathe, just be with you, be with your family, whatever you need to do, and then have it the rest of the day. And then at the end of the day, adjust. I turn my phone off around 9:20 or so, and then I read or I meditate or I talk with my husband, and just those little times really go a long way. We're inundated, and if you're here, you're highly sensitive. And I would not be surprised if you're feeling some of this stress and this overwhelm because of your phone and your devices. So just note that I really used to struggle with a lot of these things that I just put forward. Yet I learned that through each one and making these little tweaks, things can start to feel really empowering. And these are some of the best ways I found to protect my energy, my health, and my mental space while still being an amazing, passionate worker and person who's creative and allowing me to maintain and sustain my well-being as I move through this work life. Okay, the next piece I want to talk about is more specifically, what other tools can you use to reclaim purpose through your stress? So when you're stressed, you're often just reacting, okay? We are in reactivity mode. We are just what needs to get done. I don't have the bandwidth for more. Maybe you're kind of tuning out, shutting out. I know I typically do when I'm overstressed. Where's that candy bar? Where's that show I want to watch? How can I just tune out, zone out because my brain is so tired? And so let's get you out of that space. If you are at all feeling like that, or you know what that feels like, let's just check in on that and remember what ways we can start to begin to shift our life. So the first one is mindfulness. And this is really great because mindfulness is going to help you also build your intuition. And by mindfulness, I mean being present in the moment. That is mindfulness to me. Can I be in my body now? Am I here? Am I elsewhere? Am I thinking about the past? Am I worrying about the future? Or am I present and in this space of, okay, I can react to what is here in this moment. I can deal with it, and then I move forward. I can feel what emotion I'm feeling, and I can react to it. I can sit with it. I can adjust it if it needs to be adjusted, and I can continue moving forward. So, mindfulness allows you to recognize your stress, understand its causes, and respond with awareness. Because when you're here in this present, you pretty quickly go, oh, this email is really getting me stressed out. So, I'm going to set it aside, write it on my to-do list, and I'm going to come back to it because I am getting really angered by it. And it's just triggering me, and I need some time to reflect or talk with someone before I can respond. Or maybe you're stressed out because there's 6 things on your to-do list today and you're like, how am I going to do all those and get food and make sure I don't forget something and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, stop. Again, you're moving fast forward to the future. You're worrying about what has not even happened. That has been one of my biggest struggles, is worrying about things that have not yet come. Hello, anxiety. And mindfulness and living in this present moment, I really believe, while it sounds so simple, for me, at least my experience, has been one of those master keys, I would describe it as, in this lifetime. If you can really understand what that means to be present, things are going to shift, and they're going to shift pretty quick for you. It's an opportunity, truthfully, to readjust, reset your mind frame, and come back to just now. Only important thing is now. What are you feeling? How are you doing? What do you need? And you, focusing it on you, and then coming from that space of grounded, supported fullness. We're not escaping, we're not numbing, we're not tuned out or multitasking, watching Netflix while we do our work. We are just here in this moment. And it's okay, right? We're going to do stuff, but we need to have those little check-ins to come back into this moment. And so if you're really looking for more support around mindfulness and integrating it into your day, go listen to episode 16 with Katie Gold. We talk a lot more about that experience. She gives great tips as someone who's working in the corporate realm, but also integrating mindfulness as a mindfulness coach and leader. And that was a really great episode. So firstly, let's refine that mindfulness and reset how you're feeling moment to moment. Secondly, it builds on this. It's reframing stress as a teacher. We almost need to become friends with our stress. And that might feel weird because I know for me, I'm like, I want to be done being stressed. I'm so over this. I'm exhausted. But then I'm like, you know what? This is a powerful teacher. This is a powerful sign that is telling me and telling you that there are areas within ourself, within our life, within our habits, our day-to-day, that needs more attention. So reflecting on stress can help teach you what and where you need to uncover new strengths to begin to shift your approach to challenges. And by that, I mean there is strength in stress. There really is. I believe stress is an opportunity to grow, to adjust, to learn, to say, this isn't working. Stress is a sign from our body. Our bodies are very smart. They're prepped and designed to go, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure you're safe and well and doing well. And if we are just in this chronic stress and we're exhausted and we're not feeling well and we're overwhelmed and we're sad and we're emotionally fraught, which I've been there and comes and goes. And yet I know I am empowered to go, pump the brakes. What do I need to look at? What am I not listening to? There is a message here for me in my body, from my guides, from spirit, that's saying, hey, we're knocking and we really would like you to listen. So as an empath and as an intuitive, you have the ability to really go within and get those answers. And that's what I love about this. So one of my biggest tips, especially if you're not someone who can just drop in, ask the question, hear, feel, understand the answer yet, would be to use a journal and have prompts. So here are some questions that I often like to use to help me identify these. What is this stress trying to teach me? How can I use this situation to grow or make positive changes? Why am I so stressed? What are the roots of this stress? What is one thing I can do right now to release some stress? And you might feel like, oh gosh, how am I going to get that insight? I promise you, you are capable. You can do this. You can use oracle cards if you really need to. If you're like, I really am not getting anything, get a beautiful deck. But otherwise, I would use it as somewhat of an automatic writing. So get a quiet space, write out these prompts, and then just begin writing. So what is this stress trying to teach me? That's your prompt. This stress is trying to teach me da 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 da. Just see what comes, just flow. And maybe at first you're like, I don't know what this is teaching me, but I want to find out. And I trust that I'm going to find this out. So the stress is really going to tell me that I am an overthinker and that I'm avoiding this situation. And I don't believe that I'm intuitive or capable. And yet actually here I am writing, and here's this message that's going to share with me, and just keep going. It is purposeful, it is worthy. And I think writing out or even speaking out, you could do this through your audio. So leave yourself a note and just use the speaker function. And you can do it that way, or you can download an audio recorder on your phone and just record it and listen back. I think that's important. And then my last tool for stress is going to be use nature as your best friend, okay? Use the elements, use nature, see animals. Its bounty is real, its vibration is real. It's gonna start to help you shift. And I think for a lot of us, when we're stuck in this hyper stress state, it's overwhelming to be like, now you want me to go outside and you want me to take time out of my already busy day to sit in nature. What am I gonna get out of this? If you are having those conversations with yourself, you're coming up against yourself and you have the power to adjust. So trust me when I say it's not going to be one size fits all for everyone, but I want you to find a tree, a creek, to find a rock, a bush, or a flower, or some type of landmark that you can use and go to where you just feel drawn to, where you can sit there by yourself. People can be around, but you feel just curious by. Maybe you don't even know why. Find something in your space that you begin to connect with and let yourself go out. Begin to just breathe with the intention that there's nothing else you need to do when you're out in nature. You just need to have your full focus there. Nature is a soother. There's so much research out there behind us that of all the benefits of just being outside, of being in nature, of being around trees, water, all those negative ions, that different microbiome that you get when you're breathing in that air from around these plants, it has physical changes. It drops blood pressure. It releases stress. It starts to naturally reset your body, right? We are electrical beings. We are energetic beings. We are form, but at its essence, we are energy. And so noting and starting to play with, where can I go that makes me feel held, supported, refreshed, reset? Make it simple. This is something you should be able to do within a couple minutes. And then also find those things that maybe you have to drive to. Let nature begin to soothe you, because it really will, and it will help you to de-stress. So overall, stress might have you feeling helpless. I know it has for me. And yet try to begin to adjust and reframe your thinking, because by making small changes, I've learned that we can respond to stress and shape our growth. And the last part I really want to touch on today is really about how we can embrace stress and change to create a balanced life. It's really about the fact that life changes often bring stress. If you listen to last week's episode 44, where I talk about navigating change as an empath, moving from overwhelm to clarity, that goes much deeper into this topic. But I think it's really poignant here, because I think a lot of times we're stressed because things are changing, because we're adjusting, we are having to grow, we are having to transform. This life journey, I really find, is one of self-discovery. And if we're resisting that, or we're like, I just want to be comfortable in here, life gets hard and it can be even more stressful. And many of us as an empathic woman feel we need to control everything. And it really doesn't allow room for flexibility. But when we can start to become more flexible, to become more mindful, to become less stressed, to begin to change the things in our life that are stressing us, we can begin to release that control and lean into this stress and this opportunity for growth and purpose. Noting that we just really cannot maintain these stress levels and feel good. And for me, some of the things I've noticed as I look back in this decade before and even to my childhood, stress was really debilitating. I'd get stuck, I'd shut down, and then I'd turn to things that would numb me out. And I wouldn't make progress. I would just feel like I couldn't see that light at the tunnel. Why me? Poor me. I was very negative. I felt like a victim, and I played into that. I didn't know how to get out. So I just did the things I knew, quote unquote, made me feel better, but actually made me feel worse. So, what changed this? How did I begin making friends with this and becoming a really positive person who is so excited and curious about change and transformation and growth and intuition and expansion and these abilities that we can have? Well, that came from making subtle adjustments. So, when we're moving and leaning into really embracing change, to embracing growth, to creating a balanced life, to removing the stress that we're feeling, or at least making friends with it, we have to start slow. We can't change it all overnight. You gotta do one thing at a time. And so for me, it started with my diet. I wasn't feeling well. I was passing out actually randomly. I was having all these weird symptoms that my doctor was telling me was from stress. He's like, you seem overall fine. I can't find anything. But what I'm hearing is you're very stressed out. And that can do really wild things to people's body. And that was the first time someone validated, like, maybe I am just stuck in this fight or flight. And so I began to change my diet and I began to removing some of my toxic load. So I've always been chemically sensitive. I'm a highly sensitive being, and I did not realize that my fragrances, my body wash, my shampoos, my detergents, the things that I was just bringing in on a day-to-day basis, that I was like, oh, these are great. That's what's in, and this is what everyone's using with all these crazy fragrances and hormone disruptors are just destroyed me. And I did not realize that. There's so much research coming out behind this that actually the number one cancer causing things in our homes are our artificial fragrances. So I'll leave that there for you. But just noting, if you're here, you're probably highly sensitive, you might be chemically sensitive, and making some small adjustments or learning into that could maybe be really beneficial. So that was the first big change, like those huge just reset of my space, of my physical body through food. And then I began slowing down. I used to be an active, athletic person. I played sports, I did everything. And after having kids, I was like, this is not working for me. So I found yoga, and that really was next level. Intuition came online. I realized what spirituality means. I got really strong in my body, and I found that balance, that mindfulness. It clicked. So that was what it was for me. It's not for everyone, but I bet you there's a practice, whether it's art, music, moving your body, something else that just like lets you click in and slow down and like get in that zone space, that I would recommend doing. And then lastly, I'll tie this back to the work-life balance. I, for 4 years, was part-time remote after being full-time, after having my daughter, and I just couldn't sustain it. It was not physically, emotionally, anything sustainable for me. I was ready to quit and just be done with no plan ahead of me. Silly child I was. And yeah, it worked out. And so I listened. I think that was my biggest takeaway from all of that was I listened. I followed that ping, that push of saying, this doesn't feel good. I'm not doing well. I think this is going to help. And I trusted myself and I followed through with it. And it didn't change everything overnight, but it was like this slow, I see myself climbing the staircase. And that's what you can do too. So I really ask that you start to look at your life and say, what are those couple things right now that are not feeling good for me? What are those few things that I can begin to remove, adjust, or change? And it isn't about perfection, okay? It's about making progress and choices that align with your values and your well-being. So reflect on what would balance look like for you. If you realistically were creating and could take steps towards it, what is it that you'd even want to take step toward? Would it be having more time in the morning? Would it be not doing as much at your work? Would it be living somewhere differently? Really start to look at that and use your top core values that let you come back and really orient yourself around where you want to go. Okay, that was a lot. I feel like there's so much more I want to talk about, and yet I think this is a good intro into how can we begin to transform our stress and really take back the joy in our life? Because all of this is going to help you feel better. It's going to help you release some of the stress, know how to manage it, and then hopefully you'll start to feel a little bit more balanced, more easeful, and then you can listen in a little bit more and you're going to get more excited like, what else should I change? What else could I adjust? I'm feeling better. I'm listening to myself. I'm trusting myself. And it's just this fun dance that you can jump into if you really want to. So remember that you can see stress as a guide. It is not always the enemy. You can use it as a tool to grow, strengthen your intuition, and find deeper purpose. But it takes work. I'm not going to say it doesn't. Secondly, you can challenge cultural norms and reclaim balance. You do not have to accept that the hustle culture means that you are thriving. Prioritize your needs, set boundaries, and redefine what balance means for you. And lastly, remember that there are practical tools that you can integrate into your life that will help you feel more fulfilled and less stressed. So, mindfulness, inner check-ins, reflections, and small shifts to your day-to-day and your choices can really start to help you reduce your stress and create a life that aligns with your values and well-being. So I hope you feel empowered. I hope you're feeling like you can jump in and take action on a few things and just begin to make adjustments based on this episode. And I'm here for you. So I'd love to hear how you're doing. If you have any comments, if you have any feedback or thoughts of what you do yourself, maybe it was something outside of this list that really helps you get out of stress and feel better and more clear and intuitive and focused on your life. So thank you for being here. Please share with a friend if you feel like they could benefit from this episode too. And let's create a less stressed, more mindful, more fulfilling, intuitive life and just enjoy life. So that's my hope for you. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.